Hey family, welcome to MadeToLast, conversations about marriage, family, parenting, relationships. My name is Brian, my wife is Stephanie, and today we're going to talk about how do you forgive repeated actions? How do you forgive repeated offenses, or how do you do it? You want to do it? You want to start?
Yeah, so we're all Christmassy out. So how do you forgive in this Christmas season, or just period? It's all about grace and mercy, and I think it also depends. I mean, we've tackled this question a lot, but it also depends on just what we're forgiving. Am I forgiving? I think it just depends.
Yeah, one of the most, real parts of being a Christian is the whole piece of forgiveness, right? I mean, it's the story where they ask Jesus, how many times should I forgive? And they say 7 times, and he says, no, 70 times 7. Mm-hmm. And he's not really giving an actual number. What he's doing is saying it's without limit, that when it comes to how we forgive others, it's the same way that God forgives us, and there's really no limit to it. Like, because we're all flawed, we all have issues, so it's imperfect, and so the question has to be, okay, so how do we forgive? So yes, I don't think there's a limit to it, but of course, we've got to figure out let's say for a marriage,
the process looks
right,
like.
what the process looks like. Our hope in our forgiveness is that the person will not offend us again.
Right.
But the question says, what if the person just keeps doing it over and over again? They keep cheating, or they keep talking down to you,
You can only
or
cheat so many times.
they keep taking money out the account and not telling.
Yeah.
Or and so you got to ask the question, how do you deal with repeated issues in a relationship with somebody that you love? And I think you gotta, when you're offended, I think most of us don't know how to deal with conflict well. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we ignore it, or some of us go off on it. I think we gotta learn how to. Yeah, we go to a 10, and so instead we gotta be able to have a conversation, confront what happened, figure out what caused it to happen, and then hopefully the person repents.
And I think whoever it is who's caused this hurt and who is seeking forgiveness, I think there's some steps that I think that person needs to follow. I think you got to give your spouse time to process. And when I say give them time, I mean you can't just expect immediate forgiveness, depending on what the offense is. But I think also it's just a process. I do feel like everything you just said, like I think of things that we've done to each other where it's the confession, but then it's kind of like not an action plan, but kind of like a plan moving forward of how we're going to address it. And then I think another thing that's really important in this situation is just praying about that situation and then actually leaving it at God's feet. And so on. I think that's the hardest thing sometimes. And then realizing that I got to give my spouse time to process.
Yeah. I mean, I think the question about the repeated offense, that's a hard deal, because it's one time for them to do it to you once.
Right.
But when they keep doing stuff, it's like, listen, I got to protect myself from you, because I can't deal with what you're doing every time. So it depends on the matter of the level of the offense they've done to you in terms of how you do it. I think you got to keep talking to the person. I think sometimes there got to be consequences for some of that stuff. Like if you keep messing up the money, then what that means is, let me handle the bills and you take this allowance or this portion to do what you do.
Or
But if you keep hurting, if you keep your lack of care with the money is hurting all of us, and that's a repeated offense. You know what I mean? So I think, or if you keep disrespecting me, right? You keep calling me out my name, talking to me crazy. I think it depends on the nature of it, but I think it's hard when people keep hurting you.
Right. I think also depending on what it is.
Sure, depending on what it is.
Like for instance, the money. Remember in the beginning of our marriage,
yep.
And you're on this kick of being the head of the house, but you were dying a slow death when it came to doing our finances.
Right.
And so instead of just like throwing it up in your
Well,
face.
I really didn't want to do it. I wanted to give it to you. I'm good. Just give me. I don't want to pay nothing. I don't want to deal with nothing. But then you didn't want it. You was talking about we're gonna do it. You talking about we do together. Then it ends up with me doing it right now, which is fine.
No,
but
you were
I would
on. Remember,
rather
you
not
were
even do
on
it.
a George Jefferson.
Yeah, I was gonna try to do it, and I said, man, no, this is too much, man. You take all
this.
this.
Then we did it together
for about a little bit, and then now
and then you got a hang of it.
Yeah, now that's 20 years. It's been on me, but it's all good. So
but the whole point behind that was when the money was being messed up, instead of me throwing it at you and throwing it up, throwing it at you and telling you can't do it, you suck, you don't, instead of saying you can't do nothing, instead of having that type of attitude, it was, hey, let's do this together. Let's do this together, and hey, I know this is hard, but I think you're doing a good job, but let's have more conversations about how to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to hurt each other, we're going to offend each other, but you got to hope you're in a relationship with somebody that owns their sinfulness, owns their brokenness, accepts it. The problem is when they don't. When they don't, I mean, you got to figure out how you protect yourself. You got to figure out who you talk to. You got to figure out how to pray for them until they open up their hearts, because there's going to be some time and some issues where they don't really see you and they think you're being dramatic or they think you're being too much. And so you got to figure out how to. That's hard. I mean, I don't. There's not a lot of easy ways around it, but
I think you can't have if this sentence or phrases in your vocabulary, you're gonna struggle in marriage. That's just how I am.
Yeah. Or
that's just how I was raised.
Yeah.
I never saw a good marriage, or I never saw my dad love a woman, or never saw my mom love a woman. I think you got to own your hurt, you got to own your dysfunction, but then you have to say, you know what, I'm going to do better.
Yeah.
And how I'm going to do better is by either I'm going to get some therapy. Yeah. And actively do what my therapist is telling me to do. Yeah. I'm going to get some type of accountability where I'm going to surround myself with some men or some women who are who are in a marriage, who are, whether they've been married longer than I have or so on, but somebody who's going to hold me accountable and say, you shouldn't say that, right?
Right. Well, this is good, man. Listen. This is one of the areas where we all get challenged in. Yes. When someone hurts
my earrings
us.
Don't match. I've had on like mismatched earrings like the whole time. This is so funny.
It's okay.
I know.
Your earrings.
So we tape like all these like in one day. So yeah.
Your earrings. The spirit, the energy. We are grateful for this moment. Listen, hey, thank y'all for watching Made to Last. This has been another episode. Like, share, comment. Thank y'all for watching Made to Last.